Alright, hello everyone, welcome to Slapendipity, Hobos of Happy Slappy Town, episode 52. My name is Devon, but you can call me Gibi, and I am here with...
At me, Eric? You introduce me!
Sometimes I just pause, and you say Eric, and I say who you can call Eric. We've been doing this for 52 weeks, we got it figured out, we know what we're doing.
It's easy. It's totally all figured out.
We know exactly how things work. You know what I don't know how it works, Eric?
The supernatural entities that lie within each and every being.
Yeah, the supernatural entities that sometimes haunt our cell phones.
Oh?
Have you ever heard of I think it's a subreddit, it's called, like, Two Sentence Horror?
I have heard of it. I don't use Reddit.
I also don't use Reddit, but I'll see these memes, like, cross-posted on like, Twitter and stuff. You know, one of the funnier ones is, like, I hate tomatoes. The bus took a turn into the tomato factory.
Okay.
And then the top comment was like, what? And they say, I hate tomatoes. So, Two Sentence Horror is just like, it's kind of riffing off of the Ernest Hemingway poem, For Sale, Baby Shoes Never Worn. The saddest story in 6 words.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like, what's the scariest thing you can say in 2 sentences?
Right.
I would say that the scariest story I can tell in 2 sentences, and you can let me know if maybe this is on the same caliber as Hemingway's amazing poem Baby Shoes, or on the same caliber as I'm Scared of Tomatoes, Tomato Factory. The scariest story I can tell in 2 sentences is I was in a group chat of 3 people. A 4th person sent a message.
Yeah, it's somewhere in between.
But more like Hemingway, right? That's closer to some of the greatest works in the English language, right? That's how good that was. You scared? You spooked?
Okay.
Not
really.
Okay, let's back up a little bit. So that's a true thing that actually happened to us in the last week.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about it.
So we're gonna talk about it. I have an entire video on my Horror Homestead channel telling the story, but you were there, you're involved, and so I kind of wanted to get some of your perspective and your thoughts and feelings on it.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna give some background, and then you can like tell the story. So back when the anime Attack on Titan was airing, me, Eric, and my brother created a group chat where we could talk about the show as it was coming out, because like our other friends don't really care about anime and don't watch Attack on Titan, and so like they didn't want us clogging up that group chat. And so we made a little group chat with the 3 of us, and we talked about the show, and then the show ended over a year ago. And so we just didn't use the group chat at all. And it's just still sitting there, open, on our phones, it's whatever, it's just no one's messaged there for a while. So, Eric, I want you to tell your perspective of what happened on that fateful day.
Okay. Well, it was nighttime, and it was cold, and I was watching YouTube videos, I think. Probably something about a Let's Play or whatever. And I have my phone next to me, and I get a notification, and it's... just the name of the group chat, which was Peak Fiction, because one of the characters is named Peak, and it puns. And so I'm like, what's this? And all I see is a question mark from your brother. And I'm like, okay. So I open it up, and there's just a question mark from your brother. And I go, that's weird. And I just kind of put it away for a second, and then you type in, like, huh, or something like that. And I'm like...
It was like, huh? Question mark?
And so,
or what? Question mark?
So I go... In my brain, I'm like, oh, there's, like, a ghost chat they're responding to. Like, we all got a notification of a nothing... And we're all responding to that. So I just type in ghost chat. And then you start to freak out. And then your brother starts to freak out. And I'm just sitting here like, That's weird. And then you start, like, telling each other, like, no, someone messaged, there's another person. I'm like, no, there isn't. And I take a screenshot of my screen, and there's just the start of it is your brother with a question mark. And you're like, no, a fourth person messaged. And you show me this thing that says, hey, Cervantes, by, like, a person named Coca, who we don't know, doesn't exist as far as we're concerned. And, yeah, and then, and we post that into our main chat to be like, what's going on? And then your brother nukes the Peak Fiction chat. And,
Yeah, so...
And then I put my phone
happened...
down and go back to watching YouTube.
No. So what happened is I get a notification. My brother just posted a question mark in our Attack on Titan chat. And I go in, and there's a message from a user whose name is Coca, C-O-C-A. And it says, hey, Cervantes. And my brother says question mark. And I say, what? And I just assume, because this is a group chat with 3 people, that you have changed your name to Coca. Maybe you're getting really into, like, chocolate making. I don't know. I also, I mixed up Cervantes, who's the author of Don Quixote, with cervezas, which is Spanish for beer. So I literally thought it was just saying, like, hey, beer. And that, like, you changed your username. And I was like, okay. And then you respond, and you say, ghost chat LOL. So now I'm confused. Because now it wasn't you who changed your name.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to this person's profile, and it says, you have no groups in common with this person.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go to the group chat settings, and it says there's only 3 people in the chat. And if someone leaves a chat, it gives you a notification. So this person, we didn't get a notification they joined, didn't get a notification they left, they sent a message, they didn't leave. They don't exist.
Really quick, one of the things I also did before it got nuked is you can @ people in the message to, like, send them an extra notification. So I did go to @, and it was just the 3 of us.
Yeah, and so at first I'm like, wait, what's going on? Is that not you, Eric? And my brother's like, wait, is that not you, Eric? And you said no. And then we start talking, and you say that you can't even see the Hey Cervantes message.
Yeah.
And that's even scarier, because that means that you entered into a chat in which a ghost had messaged, and your first response is ghost chat, but you didn't even see the ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just like a serendipity right there.
Nah, that's just good intuition.
The ghost serendipitied you.
Yeah.
Anyway, brother deletes the chat. We're now in our big main group chat, freaking out because, as I said, I was in a group chat of 3 people. A 4th person sent a message.
Mm-hmm.
And even, like, thinking about it now, like, I'm getting all tingly. Like, I don't know, there was something just unsettling about the entire thing, because, like, it shouldn't be a thing that happens. Again, hey, Cervantes, the author of
Don Quixote.
And the person's name is Coca. I made a YouTube video telling this story, and first of all, a lot of people thought it was fake. Like it was like a fictional like ARG thing. Can you confirm to the people that this really happened?
This really happened. Something happened. There was, I mean, again, my screen was blank, but I did see your screenshots, and there was just a person we didn't know messaging in the group chat.
It reminded me of, I'm sure that you're aware of the Herobrine creepypasta from Minecraft.
No.
What?
Oh, wait, you've told me about this, yes.
How you're my age. You've been on the internet for 15 years.
I don't go
do you not know
on
what
that
Herobrine
part of
is?
the internet.
The normal part?
Yeah.
Okay, so Herobrine is a very old creepypasta. The idea is that there's a version of Steve walking around Minecraft, but he has white eyes, and when the story was first spread around, the idea is that Herobrine was the name of Notch, the creator of Minecraft's brother, and he had died, and so now his brother is haunting Minecraft. And so if there's ever anything out of place in your single-player Minecraft world, it was Herobrine.
Whoa.
And it's become it's a huge meme. Every single person on the internet knows this story. You're the only one who doesn't, Eric. You should feel bad.
I don't.
So it was like, okay, that's a thing, whatever. So I took a very long break from playing Minecraft, and I went back into it a few years ago. And this was after the mineshaft update, in which there are now naturally occurring mineshafts in the world.
Mm.
And so I create a single player Minecraft world. I run around, I go underground, and there's an uncompleted mineshaft. And I lose my mind.
Mm.
I'm like, oh my god, it's like Herobrine for real, for real.
For real.
It wasn't. But like there's just something scary about that. Something that shouldn't happen. Like, what's going on? So I looked into it, the group chat thing, and we still have no idea what could possibly have happened. My thought is that Microsoft servers are just so bad that someone named Coca also had a group chat with like the same ID as Peak Fiction. Maybe because we hadn't posted in it in so long, like the group chat ID was like renamed or reused by someone else. Maybe their chat was also called Peak Fiction, and so it got confused. And so they just went into their group chat and they sent a message and it appeared in ours. That would be terrifying from like a security standpoint if that's what really happened. But I think that's more likely than that it was a real ghost.
You know what I think?
What do you think?
It was just like a hacker or something, just being like dumb joke.
But what's the joke?
Freaked out three people. Two people, really.
Gosh. I looked it up and I have not seen anyone else saying that anything similar to this has happened to them.
Well, yeah, because it was like a fluke freak thing.
They're like, I'm going to mess with these three people in particular, and one of them's going to be a YouTuber.
No, I don't even think it's the equivalent of being like, I'm going to dial a random number on a telephone and be like, I'm so sorry for your loss, and then you hang up. And then you just freak that person out.
Mm-hmm. People were like, oh my gosh, Coca is the name of some like old demon or something in like folklore. And I'm like, nope, it's still not an ARG, still just a thing that happened.
Mm.
But yeah, no, it was as I said in that video, the scariest thing that has ever happened to me.
Mm.
The most fear I've ever felt.
You know what's hilarious about this to me?
What?
Almost unfazed about it. Even when it was happening, I was just like, yeah, whatever.
My brother came into my office and we cried.
Damn.
You didn't see the ghost. That's why you were unaffected, but it was literally the freakiest experience I have ever had.
Fair. I'm, you feel your feelings. I'm not saying it's wrong. I just think it's funny, the just extremes of it. Yeah.
Anyway, that's the story of Coca the Cervantes group chat.
Wow.
Boo.
Boo.
Okay, so last episode
we made
we don't talk about last episode.
Oh.
We don't talk about it. I was in Mississippi on my vacation. Audio was not good.
Well,
So here's what happened, guys. I have never really been in an airplane before, and me and Eric are taking a 14-hour flight to Japan in a few months. So I decided, hey, maybe I should, be in a plane before that. So I have a friend who goes to school in Mississippi, and he said, well, how about you come down here and visit me? And I said, okay. So I took a plane flight, and the plane flight went to Georgia, and then the Georgia plane flight went to Memphis. So I took 2 plane flights. And then I took 2 plane flights back. So I've now taken 4 flights.
Hooray.
Georgia, the Atlanta airport, is the biggest airport, definitely in America. It might be one of the biggest in the world. And it was crazy. I don't know if you've ever been there, Eric.
I haven't.
It's like a big mall with airport terminals. You have to take a subway between them. Is huge.
The little trams?
Yeah, an indoor underground tram.
Yeah, that's not too uncommon.
I've never been to an airport, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was so weird because on the way back, I had to spend about 4 hours there waiting for my next flight. And so I landed and I walk around. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll go there for dinner. And then I take the tram to the place I'm taking off from. And I'm like, oh, they don't have the same restaurants in each
No.
section.
Why would they?
That's silly. Because, like, why wouldn't they?
Well, no, because you gotta. How are they gonna get the money? They gotta have Wendy's pay for space in there, but they also need McDonald's to pay for space in there.
But why not just have Wendy's pay for 5 spots, one in each area? There's
Cause,
5 areas.
because maybe McDonald's will pay more money.
Then McDonald's should buy 5.
No, 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 because it's enabling a competition by having multiple difference. Not multiple
Cringe. Don't
difference,
like
but
it.
like,
Anyway, hung out at the airport for 4 hours. I found a nice secluded spot by a window where you could like watch airplanes take off. So, because of my job, I have to write stuff on my laptop, which I did pretty often. And I also have to read. And I have yet to figure out how to get over the idea that people will judge me for doing things. Because, like, you might see that this is weird. Because I'm at an airport. Nobody around me who sees me will ever see me again. We're all just ships passing in the night at an airport. We're all just planes passing in the night.
right?
It will make zero difference to me if they can see that I am reading a Five Nights at Freddy's novel.
Correct.
And yet, I did not want anyone to see that I was reading a Five Nights at Freddy's novel, and so I had to shove myself in the corner of the airport.
Oh
And
my goodness.
I opened the book real far so that the cover was totally like on the table, and that's how I read.
But what does it matter?
I don't know, but I felt like it did.
But why?
I don't know.
Do you ever read in public?
Oh yeah, just not children's books.
Sure. But like,
like see something, say something, about like terrorism.
oh, yeah.
I feel like if someone saw me sitting there reading Five Nights at Freddy's #5 Bunny Call with a pen, taking detailed annotated notes, that might be like suspicious enough that they call the TSA on me.
No, I think they would be like, wow, that guy's really into FNAF. Whatever.
So yeah, that was my experience in the airport.
Okay.
But my experience in Memphis and in Mississippi was pretty cool.
What did you do?
So I land in the Memphis, and my friend's there, and he takes me to Beale Street, which is like the Times Square of Memphis. And we look at some stores, and we eat some food.
Wow.
And then we go to, he says, hey, we have like an hour left on the parking meter. Do you want to see the place where MLK got shot? And I say, okay. And I told the story already, but I'm going to tell it again. So we're just kind of walking down the street, and we see the sign for the Lorraine Motel, which is where MLK got shot. And upon seeing the sign, we both sort of like have we freeze. We have like a weird shiver. We're like, this is like so weird. And you turn the corner, and suddenly right there in front of you, totally recreated from like the day that he got shot. They have like all the same cars parked outside the building that they did the day he got shot. It's just this roped off, perfectly staged, maintained depiction of the spot from the day that he died. And there's like plaques and stuff everywhere. It's also a Pokestop. There's plaques and stuff everywhere, and just like standing there and looking at it and being like, oh, this isn't a thing that just happened in history. This is like real. And you can like turn and look across the street at the place he got shot from and be like, this is weird. And so it had a very, very uncomfortable feeling for me, where I kind of felt like I was being watched, like I'm being watched by history. And yeah, it was very, very uncomfortable. And then I'm like, well, the only thing similar to this I've experienced is being like at Ground Zero on 9/11, not on 9/11, but at 9/11 Ground Zero, at the World Trade Centers. And I don't know, it just didn't feel as personal. It's not like, oh, and right there is the spot where MLK died. So that just kind of gave me a little crisis. And then we walked back to the car, and then we drove to Graceland. So before I talk about that, Eric, what's your experience with MLK?
I just read about him in class.
Have you ever seen, like, the pictures from, like, the day he was shot?
No.
Yeah.
Like,
there's like, people, like, the people standing over him and, like, pointing in the direction of where the shot came from.
I mean,
the trees.
Maybe in school, but no, not real. I remember, like, watching a video, and it was, like, the him giving his speech in this shot, and then people like looking around. That's about it in terms of
Yeah,
like visibly what happened.
Super freaky. What's your history with Elvis?
My mom listened to him when I was growing up, so I listened to him a little bit then, and there was a movie that came out recently about him. I didn't watch it, I just know that it exists. And he died on the toilet.
Yes. So Graceland is the name of his like compound. It was named that before his family moved in, but it's just a big manor with a big yard, big fancy mansion. Um, so there's this like I'm gonna call it a mall. It's a museum, but I'm gonna call it a mall. And you enter and you can like pay a fee, and there's a gift shop, and you can go, and there's like all of his cars are in this big garage, and so you can look at his cars, and then all of his military stuff is in this big garage, and you can look at his military stuff, and then a lot of like costumes are in like a big garage. So basically, again, it's like a museum. There's like recreations of the studio that he recorded in, and you can walk around. It's really cool, and it costs like $40.
Okay.
Pretty like cool if you're super into Elvis.
Sure.
But for $100, they put you on a bus and they take you across the street to the actual manor, and so you can walk around his actual home. And there's a guided tour, and they're like, and this is the living room, and this is the dining room, and this is that room. And so me and my friend from Mississippi did that because he's a huge Elvis boy. It's actually really funny. My mother, before I left, was like, hey, since you're going to be in Memphis, you should go to Graceland just because it's cool. I don't know if you and your friend like Elvis, but like you should go. I'm like, my friend actually loves Elvis and has wanted to go since he's been going to school there. And she's like, perfect. So we go, and it's really cool. I got a lot of pictures. And yeah, it like you end it at this reflecting pool where they have Elvis's grave.
Mm.
He had originally been buried in a public cemetery, and that didn't work because he was too famous, and people kept like going there and disturbing it, and so they moved it onto his private property. Yeah, so like that was neat. And then I went to Mississippi, and the next day was the Super Bowl, and so I got to watch the Super Bowl, which sucked, and I hated it.
Womp womp.
Womp womp. Did you watch the Super Bowl?
I did. We
Tell
had
me
a little
about what you
party
did.
about it. We do it. Our one friend is a Chiefs fan, and he was upset most of the night. Not like actually upset, but sports upset. And yeah, I we just hung out, had some chips, had some ribs, just had a good time with each other. Watched the halftime show. Watched the rest of the game. I ended up going in a rabbit hole on the halftime show. It's filled with...
What's that?
Meaning, what?
What's that? What do you mean?
Well, so, like, I, watched the halftime show, and the next day, a few days later, like, the Super Bowl is on Sunday, so, like, Monday and Tuesday, I was just like... What if I just watched a bunch of stuff about Kendrick Lamar and the Super Bowl and all these things? And people were digging into all the stuff he did and like the choreography and the sets and the just everything. And I was just like, wow, fascinating.
So like the symbolism?
The symbolism, some of the lyrics, the Serena Williams. I didn't know Serena Williams was a symbol.
She apparently dated Drake.
I keep hearing confusing things that she either dated him or like he was like harassing her and like trying to date her, and I don't know. I for some reason got mixed messages on that because why would we have clear information on the internet? But yeah, I just was like, she's doing the dance, and it's like, no, that's a big dig at Drake's, and I was like, oh, I'm just not into rap beef like that.
Did you watch the whole game? Because I heard slightly different. I heard that you, in fact, played Pokemon Pocket TCG throughout most of the game.
Yeah, I was multitasking. Oh,
Understandable.
oh, the score is 42-0. Let me watch with enwrapped eyes as I do nothing else, please. Um, Besides, I was making the account, logging in, going through the tutorials.
I just think it's funny.
I mean,
So,
you know,
most of my vacation in Mississippi was, just like touring the local area, going to restaurants. Obviously, like, the Memphis Day and the Super Bowl day were like big aspects of being there. Um, the day I was in Memphis, so the Sunday of the Super Bowl, I was releasing a video that I'd already made about one of the FNAF stories that takes place in Memphis. And so Saturday, when I was in Memphis, I got some extra shots to put into the video,
mm-hmm.
being like, oh, she walked down this street. And so then I walked down the street in real life and I put that in the video. And that meant that on my friend's computer, because I don't have a laptop, I edit on my big real computer. So on my friend's computer, I had to download editing software and then download the video and then edit the new shots into the video and then upload it. And he didn't have editing software, even though he said he did. And I didn't know how to use any of the free ones like DaVinci. And so that kind of sucked. And so I probably spent an hour and a half trying to insert like 30 seconds of video footage into the video when it should have taken like 5 minutes.
Dang, you should have
So,
called me. I used
oh my,
DaVinci.
oh, that, huh.
Hmm.
It was late. It was like 10 o'clock my time, which was 9 o'clock your time. That's real late.
No, that would have been 11 o'clock my time.
Oh yeah, I don't know how time zones work. I had kept having problems with time zones. It was a whole thing. One of my friends who's a FNAF YouTuber said, "Oh, my video is going up at 4 o'clock Eastern," and I'm like, "Oh, I am Eastern, so it's going up 4 o'clock." No, because even though I am Eastern, I was in Central. It was a thing. It was a problem.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like time zones.
They're okay. I don't.
I think once when we go to Japan and it's like 14 hours difference, I think I'll be okay with that just because in my head I'll be like, oh, it's way different. But when it's only an hour different, I don't know where I am.
Well,
I lose all track of time.
I think I told this many episodes ago when I was doing my cross-country trip. I think it's Indiana that has multiple time zones in the one state. Like, sometimes it's Eastern, sometimes it's Central. I don't know, it just depends where you are.
Mm-hmm.
A little silly.
And I think Arizona doesn't do daylight savings. So, like, they're, like, for half the year just out of sync with everyone else. Yeah, so, that was it. I think the plane experience was uncomfortable.
Okay.
First flight, I was in like a hard chair, like a bus seat. It was pretty fine. Sat next to a middle-aged lady. She didn't say a word to me until we were landing, in which case she said, "Hello, Sonny, I see that you're editing something on a Samsung laptop. Our Samsung laptop's good." And I said, "It's actually a Chromebook, so I don't really know if my experience using it is going to be the same as you if you were to buy a Samsung." And she said, "Okay." And then second flight, I was in the aisle seat next to a father and son. Like a grown son, like a 20-year-old and his father, and they just spoke French the whole time. And the next flight, I was in the middle seat between two people who also didn't know each other, and that one sucked. And then the next flight, it was so uncrowded that I got my own row.
Wow.
And I couldn't get comfortable, and I found out that it's because all my other flights I was standing up straight, like with my arms tucked in to not like bother the people next to me. And so because I was standing up straight, I was able to like lean back into my neck pillow. But because I had all this room in this flight, I was just like blobbed out, slopping myself all over all the seats. And I'm like, why can't I find a comfortable place to rest my head? It's because I was not sitting up straight. So that was the lesson. My ears did not pop. That was not a problem.
What?
I did get a little nauseous during one of them because we hit turbulence, so that is a problem.
What?
And I couldn't figure out how to lift my armrest. So I have a whole thing about that. But before that, I guess I'll ask you why you're interrupting about my ears popping.
Because your ears are supposed to pop.
They didn't.
I don't. I. You
Hmm?
should look into that.
So there's a
Like,
very large hill, not like near Happy Slappy Town, but like there's a very large hill. And when you go up and down this hill, your ears pop
yeah.
when you're just driving at like normal speed.
Yes.
And so whenever I go up and down that, it's by the Target, Eric. That's the hill I'm talking about. When you go up and down that hill, my ears pop. On the airplane, ears didn't pop.
Yeah, I would look into that. Maybe that's why you felt nauseous.
No, I think the 20 minutes of turbulence in the middle seat where I couldn't like see out a window or anything was why I felt nauseous.
But how are you 30,000 feet in the air and your ears don't pop?
I don't know. They just didn't have to.
What do you? Maybe it was so subtle you just didn't notice. That's what I'm believing.
So I'm like yawning while you're speaking right now. I guess just because we're talking about it, and as I yawn, my ears are popping. But yeah, no, it wasn't a thing that happened on the plane flight.
This is insane. On any of them?
Any of them, none of them.
This is insane.
Hmm?
You
Okay.
need to get your ears checked. You need to get.
They're popping right now as I'm yawning. It's fine.
I don't.
Maybe it built up. Maybe all the popping built up, and so now a week later, I'm still trying to get rid of it.
I don't know. That's so weird. Let us know if you
Anyway.
have ear popping stories and if you can figure out why Gibi is so weird.
Why my ears are weird. So yeah, I want to figure something out for potential motion sickness. Because if I'm motion sick for 14 hours, that's going to suck. And then some of the flights, I was like able to take out my laptop and tippity type, and it was all good. And then, as I said, that one flight, I wasn't even able to like do anything besides look at my knees and try not to throw up. So I got to figure that out.
Hmm. Did you?
And yeah, so that was those.
Did you think about like just go into the bathroom and throw up, like with that?
We were landing in turbulence, so no.
I see. I see. Well, okay. What did I mean, not we don't have to spend too much time on it, but I mean, you kind of glossed over Mississippi. Did you do anything fun? Did you go top golfing?
No, did not go top golfing. Went to a couple restaurants. My friend works at a restaurant, so I went to his restaurant. That was really cool. Got to meet his head chef. It was kind of weird. So we have in New Jersey very, very strict laws about the sale of alcohol.
Yes.
So being in Walmart getting food for the Super Bowl and seeing that there's a beer section kind of freaked me out because I'm like, what the heck? Beer? You can't sell beer at Walmart. What are you doing?
Sure you can.
What are you doing? What are you doing in the South? So I was just like, it's so weird that like you can buy alcohol at a Walmart. What's going on?
Yeah.
After we picked up snacks, we stopped at a vape store
Mm-hmm.
because my friend was like, we got to pick up vape juice for my roommates for the party. I'm like, that's stupid. So we're walking around in the vape store, and my friend's like, oh, does it make you uncomfortable that there's like vape stuff all around the way that like the beer in the Walmart made you uncomfortable? And I'm like, marijuana is legal in New Jersey. Like this is like a baby store. Like this doesn't even have, this doesn't have anything in it.
Lols.
So the Walmart has too much stuff. You know, beer at Walmart freaks me out. Going into a vape store, they don't even have pot. So like, what's the point?
LOL.
He was telling me that you can't sell alcohol on, or liquor stores are closed on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't sell alcohol on Sundays because it's like an ordinance. But the vape shops can be open because like it's not that it's a loophole. It's just like the law says no alcohol. The law does not say no vapes.
Right.
Because they didn't exist when the law was written. And so vape stores can be open, but alcohol can't. And I'm like, that's so stupid.
You know, it's what happens. I guess. But yeah. That's one of the... Yeah, that's not even the South. So many places sell alcohol in just everyday normal stores.
Yeah, well, I mean,
All
like even
over.
I think Pennsylvania has similar laws. New Jersey's just very strict about alcohol sales. I don't know why. Probably because of all the mafia people who used to be here. All those dang Italians.
I don't know. I don't know enough about this subject, and that does sound right and wrong enough.
But yeah, it was weird. Everyone down there spoke with Mississippi accents, and by that I mean some people down there didn't. But they would like I'd say like one out of every 20 words just had like a Mississippiism.
A
So like I'd be talking to
twang.
someone and they just sounded quote unquote normal, but then they'd have a really long like drawl sound at the end of one of their words, and I'd be like, "Oh right, you do have an accent. That's odd to me." But like it shouldn't be because I'm sort of told this by my YouTube commenters where they're like, "You pronounced this word wrong," and I'm like, "Actually, what's going on is my accent is 99% similar to yours, and then 1% of my words are just Jersey, and so what you're hearing is me pronouncing something because I'm from New Jersey."
Mm. Just like, what is it? Minnesotans? Where they're like,
Yeah,
a boot.
yeah, they're subtly Canadian.
There's, yeah, yeah. It's like, oh yeah, talking normally, a boot. And you're just like, oh yeah. But accents are fun. We love a good
Can you
accent.
say can you say horror mirror?
Horror mirror?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
over and over.
Horror mirror, horror mirror, horror mirror, horror mirror, horror mirror.
So I got comments that like I can't say them right, and so I asked our group chat like send me a video of you saying horror mirror, and our friend Christian sent one, and he said it the same way I did. He goes like horror mirror, and then he has this like look on his face where he realizes that like he said it oddly, not horror but horror, and not
Mm.
mirror but mirror, horror mirror. So that's our accent.
Yeah. You know. Is what it is.
Uh, I couldn't figure out how to lift up my armrest on the plane.
Right.
There's this big button.
Yeah.
Turns out the big button is for reclining the seat, which I didn't want to do because there's people behind me. So I just literally couldn't figure it out.
Oh, that's the.
And
Mm-hmm.
no, I was just gonna say that it's gonna bring us to sort of a new topic where I couldn't figure out how my chair worked. So what I did is I looked across the aisle at the other chair,
Mm-hmm.
like all the other chairs in the aisles,
Mm-hmm.
to try to look and be like, oh, like I never at any point looked underneath my seat, but I could see underneath all the other seats.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't figure out how to open my armrest, but I could see the button on the other armrests. And
Mm.
I'm like, it's so interesting how I'm learning about my chair by looking at something that's not my chair. What an interesting philosophical incident.
I guess.
So I guess I want to ask if you're familiar with the airplane chair dilemma of not being able to like examine your seat because you're buckled in and like you can't just get up and peek under your seat and look around, but you can learn things about your chair by looking at other people's chairs.
I mean, yeah, I guess I've done that. I don't have any specific instance because that would have been a long time ago. Probably.
Have have you ever like, oh, okay, you're sitting in a doctor waiting room or something,
Ah,
and there's other people there,
right.
and so you sort of are like, oh well, how am I supposed to behave in this instance? I know I'll look at what everyone else is doing. So you can kind of look at the old guy across from you reading a magazine and be like, that's what I would look like were I to be reading a magazine.
No. No, I have not done that. I just do whatever it is I do.
Hmm.
So sometimes that's just being on my phone. Sometimes that's just daydreaming. Sometimes that's watching the TV. In the context of a waiting room like that, I'm not using other people as a reference and comparing myself to them.
So if you were at an airport, you would just openly read an embarrassing novel in front of people.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it was PG, I'm not being crazy out here. But yeah, if
Well,
I
yeah.
if I had a Five Nights at Freddy's book, I would pick if there's half an hour left till the boarding process, I would sit down next to my gate, get a good chair, and just read my book.
I was, and maybe this is against airport etiquette, but this girl sat down next to me at the airport terminal, and then just starts like curling her hair,
Mm.
and she gets. I thought at first she was like FaceTiming someone, but she used her phone, her front-facing camera, so she could see herself, and then she had a ring light set up so that she could like just be doing her hair while sitting there,
Mm.
while also simultaneously happened to be on the phone. So she was talking to someone just out loud. We couldn't hear their side of the conversation. She had like earbuds. So talking to someone out loud while ring lighting herself to do her hair. And it's not like this is an early morning flight, right? It's not like you get up early and so you don't have time to do your hair or your makeup and you go there. No, it was just 4 p.m.
Mm.
doing her hair in the airport.
How long is the flight?
Probably a little over an hour.
Mm. Yeah, okay. I can buy that.
Like, I'm sure that, like, you go to the airport and, like, there's no rules. People are in pajamas. Some people are getting off the plane from Disney World. Some people are on business trips. It's like, you're not going to judge people for being in an airport. You're all aware that it's an odd situation. You're all coming from different places, going to different places. You're all, like,
Transient
who
space.
knows? Yeah, transient space. So, like, to judge this person for doing their hair at the airport, kind of cringe of me. At the same time, she was just being so extra. Like, you got out a ring light and, like, you're like, not like with a hot hair curler, but like with one of those little curly bits. When they're like the spiky things that you roll your hair up in.
Yes.
She was rolling spiky bits, her hair with a ring light at the airport terminal.
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's just extra, in my opinion.
It's a little extra. She could have went to the bathroom. I imagine they would have had a decent enough setup.
A mirror.
They would have had a mirror. They would have had
A horror mirror.
lights. But also, like, I don't know. The biggest transgression is, like, loudly talking on the phone to me. But even then, you know, it's an airport. As long as she was, like, kind of out of the way, you know, if she was...
Well, she was sitting right next to me, because all the seats were, like, being taken.
But where were you
This
sitting?
is also, like, in one of the seats. This is at the terminal. So I sit down in a seat.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like on my laptop and I'm doing stuff. And then I sit there and then all the seats around me fill up.
Right.
And then the lady's like, okay, we're going to start boarding in 10 minutes. And I'm like, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pee. So I get up and you have to take your bags with you. You can never leave your bags unattended at an airport. So I take all my bags with me and I go to the bathroom and I come back just in time for boarding. And an old man has stolen my seat that I've been in for like an hour. And so there's only one seat left and I go and I sit there. Sorry, there's like a couple seats left. I go and I sit there. And then, with like 5 minutes to go before the gate opens, this lady comes up and sits next to me and starts doing her hair.
Yeah. Were you in the last row, corner seat?
Oh no, just like in the it's just a big blob of chairs.
Yeah, but they're still organized in a way.
I wasn't like in a corner or in the back or anywhere. It was just like, you know, someone sits down, and so when the next person sits down, they sit as far away from them as possible, and then someone will sit in the middle, so there's like 7 seats in between them, and then someone will sit in the middle of that, in the middle of that, in the middle of that, you know, and you fill in so that no one, you know, sits next to each other.
Sure.
And so it just so happened that the last spot left, she had to sit next to me, and then she did her hair.
Yeah, yeah, shrug. I think that's fine. Again, biggest transgression to me is if she's like, so, Dave, I was talking the other day, and blah, blah, blah. I'd be like, too loud. Stop. Not actually.
Yeah.
I'm not a confrontational person.
I would give flying a 4 out of 10.
You would give flying a 4 out of 10. Okay.
It was uncomfortable. It was less good. It was worse than it was good. I don't like it. I don't like airfare. I don't like hair, apparently. And so I just feel like if I didn't have to do it again, I wouldn't. But I do, so we'll deal with it.
Lols. You pointed out, I just want to circle back a little. You were like, I can't recline my chair because there are people behind me.
Yeah.
But that is the process.
Yeah, I know that like they don't recline that far, and so like it shouldn't really matter.
But then,
I just felt like it's like it was only an hour-long flight, and I didn't need to. I was also unlucky. So there were so few people on the flight that, as I said, I got like a whole row to myself.
Mm-hmm.
People decided to sit right behind me, even though they didn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
And not only did people sit behind me, but there were people who were flying together. And
Mm-hmm.
so there were two people there.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me to recline into the only other two people in the back of the plane, I just think would have been like mildly rude. And so I didn't.
But then they would have reclined. Reclining is a chain reaction event. If everyone is reclined, then it's like no one is losing space. You know?
Yeah. I just didn't want to impede on their space.
Why don't you
Their
just
little like
move?
gal talk. Because I didn't want to.
But then you could have reclined.
But what if it would have bothered the flight attendant for me to move, Eric?
How many seats were in the row?
6 in the row, and then no one in the 6 in front of me, and then in the 6 behind me was only the 2 ladies who were directly behind me.
So it was 2 and 2 and 2. It wasn't the seats?
No. It was 3 and 3.
So if there's only 2 ladies behind you, just move to the seat where there's no one behind you.
But that would no, because I was in the window seat. I didn't want to sit in the aisle just to recline.
Why not?
It was a whole because I was just gonna sit in my airplane seat and stare between my knees and relax for not relax, but try not to die for an hour. It was fine.
I'm just saying, it sounds like there were solutions with relative ease you could have used and
If the
chose
plane
not
had
to.
exploded
Uh-huh.
and my grave had written, "Here lies Gibi, his last action on this earth was to inconvenience the old lady sitting behind him," then that would not have sat well with me.
No, but just move. That's
No.
what I'm talking about. Just move.
That's some suspicious activity.
It's not
moving seats on an
suspicious.
airplane after takeoff. What the heck?
You can all. This is one of the things I think is interesting and different about us, because you didn't know how your chair worked. You didn't feel comfortable moving. All these little things. I would have just called a stewardess over and been like, "Hi, this is my first time flying. Do you mind explaining things to me like I'm 5?
It wasn't. It was my 4th time flying. That would have been a lie.
Nah, but the first time you flew, like when you didn't know how to put an armrest up, or whatever.
Oh no, it was the 4th time that I couldn't figure out the armrest.
Okay, but either way, you could have been like, "This is only my, 2nd day, 4th time. I'm new to flying. Will you please teach me?" And she probably would have been like, "Yeah, of course," and been like, "This is a nice way to kill 10 minutes, as opposed to just standing doing nothing."
On one of the flights, the one with all the turbulence, it was too turbulent for them to pass out like complimentary water and crackers, and so we just didn't get any, and I felt like I was ripped off.
Yeah, a little. But,
All right,
but only
so
a little.
that was my vacation.
Nice.
Let's hear you talk about your vacation. What did you do?
I went down to DC. I decided to attend a convention called Katsu-con.
Sounds like some weeb nonsense.
It is some weeb nonsense, and it was the 30th anniversary, I would later find out. Now, the most exciting thing that anyone would want to know, if they listened to our podcast and knew about this, is that, yes, a pipe did burst in the hotel, and there was water that spilled out onto vendors and stuff. But I went home for that, so I didn't learn about it until later.
Is this something that like trended and like people knew that it happened? Because I did not hear anything about this.
People that pay attention to conventions have like talked about it. My friend sent me like a thing on Instagram that was like, "OMG, the pipe burst at Katsu-con. Is that sewage?" And with like a video of it like coming down onto this poor vendor.
Oh no! Did it ruin their stuff?
Yeah, yeah.
No.
Which I hope so much that like they get reimbursed from the hotel or insurance or something, because that's tragic. Because I think it was the first day too. Um, I didn't super look into it, but from what I've heard, it was not actually sewage, it was gray water, which still isn't great, but like it's mildly better.
So, like, if someone peed in the shower, then it was sewage.
If someone peed in the shower or they used the toilet, that's sewage. Gray water is like dirty water from using the sink or something. Or
So if
like,
someone peed in the sink, then it's sewage.
well, you would just have pee in your gray water. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Um, so that was a thing, and they had to adjust for it and whatever. I think it was handled well with the, like, exception of that vendor, and hopefully they get sorted out and things are good. But yeah, I went with some friends and, did some shopping, got people some birthday gifts. It was their birthday. We did an escape room before the con. We got out with 10 minutes to spare.
Oh, heck yeah. How hard was it? Have you done escape rooms before?
I have done escape rooms before. They're one of those things that's like, wow, this is really fun. Why don't I do this? And then time passes and I don't do it, and then that happens again. And I go,
We should do some.
We
We'll get a group of people and we'll do them.
yeah. No, yeah, I love escape rooms. How hard was it? Not too hard. There was the hardest puzzle that stumped all of us was like a jumble word. So like here you have the letters OLRTAP, and you had to make a word out of them, and then you had to like line them up on the wall. And that stumped
Was that
us.
the action? Was that the real letters?
Yes.
OLRTAP.
Yes. I
Um,
will give you 20 seconds.
part low.
Okay.
Trap ol. Plotra.
Yeah, okay.
Plato.
No.
With an R.
Plator?
Plato, yeah.
No.
Portal.
Yay! There you go!
Portal! Yes! Oh my gosh. I got it.
Why? You said portal, and then we're like, didn't get it, and said portal again. You're funny. But yeah, it was portal!
Okay, and that solved the clue?
Yeah. And then that was the final puzzle to escape, because we made
how,
a portal.
How long did that take you, and how many of you were there?
I think there was 6 or 7 of us, and it took us at least 5 minutes, maybe.
Did you know that it was an anagram, or did you not know what to do with the letter? What?
Well, so we also...
What?
One of the things was we had to translate it from Braille to... like English alphabet. So, because you had a like decoding glass thing, and you had to put that over the wall, and then you had to find the dots, and those dots would, it was Braille, so those dots would make up a letter or a number, and some of the letters and numbers are the same dot patterns. And then we went over it, and then we were like, instead of the P, like I think, I don't know Braille like that. I believe the P and the B were one dot away from each other. So initially we had like labor and stuff like that. And so then we had to retrace the wall looking for all the dots. Saw that we missed a few dots. And so then we were like, oh shit, we had the wrong letters all along. So that's why it took us some extra time. But yeah.
What was the con for? Like, what is it?
Katsu-con?
Yeah.
Just just kind of a weeb con. I don't know. Uh, Honestly, I think it's just a branding thing. Like, there's a convention called Anime Next, and you just can't call your convention Anime Con, right? Because that, where's the branding in that? And someone's probably already used it. So they just called it Katsu-con. Katsu is it's a like a Japanese dish. It's like fried pork cutlet typically, and I believe it also means victory.
So I recently learned. Have you ever heard of PAX, the convention, PAX East, PAX West?
Oh yeah,
A lot of video game stuff there. I literally just found out like 3 days ago that PAX technically started out as a penny arcade expo. That's what PAX stands for.
right?
Penny Arcade Expo,
Yeah,
which is like crazy to me.
yeah.
Like what? Wait, hold on. You mean one of the biggest conventions for video games besides like E3 on the continent started out as a web comic expo?
Well, it's been around for a long time.
Yeah, it
It
has
had
been
to.
around for a
It
long time.
had
It
to.
kind of blew my mind.
It's had to start as something, and video games weren't as big back in the day. Penny arcade.
Yeah, that was I don't know. It kind of freaked me out. I didn't know that.
I mean, I don't know the origin of Katsu-con. I don't know how it, you know, maybe it started as a pork dish convention, and they were like, "Wait a minute." Um,
All right. So what else did you do while you were down there in your
uh,
adventure?
Not too much. I walked Artist Alley, walked the merch hall.
Did you do like real things?
What do you mean?
Like you were in like Washington D.C., right?
Yeah,
Did you go to like visit Thomas Jefferson, or did you only do the anime convention?
I only did the anime convention. I go to DC so
Oh.
often. I've seen all that stuff.
Did you go out anywhere fun for dinner?
So during the convention, we just went to like places within like a 10-minute walk, just so it would be easy. So, yes and no. Um, and then the days that I did not go to the con, I did not eat out. We stuck to eating in mostly. So,
Did you fly there?
no, I drove.
How was the drive on a scale of 1 to 10?
Driving down there was probably like, I don't remember the drive down there. So I'm going to say a 5 or a 6. Driving back up, I'm going to say it was like a 4. Because we left at like 4 or 5 o'clock. And so then it was night driving, which is, I do enjoy night driving. But then you're like on the highway, and sometimes people aren't great with their being on the highway, driving, actually. But one of the things that happened is that there was a wind advisory. There was like storms or something. We didn't run into like rain or snow or anything, but there was such strong winds. And it reminded me of when I was doing my cross country trip and in the Midwest and whatever. There would just be gust of winds that knock the van back and forth. And I experienced that this time. And I was like, this is bullshit. I'm on the East Coast. So for driving the 4 hours or whatever, like my wrists were so sore because you had to, like, it was basically throughout the entire 4 hours. Not like, intermittently. But that I would just have to fight with the van to stay in my lane because there's 50-mile-an-hour winds hitting us from the side. And they were most active on, like, flat areas. So when you're going over a bridge and there's just a drop into the water, and it's just like, so don't look down, don't look to the side, just keep driving. It's a little freaky.
It's a little freaky. So I guess because I forgot to mention this earlier, going back to airplanes. What is your like comfort/fear level of like takeoff in an airplane?
It's kind of like ghosts for me. Like, I'm not scared of ghosts until I am. Like, someone starts talking and telling a scary story, and it's actually scary. Or, like, you watch a horror movie, and it's, like, a really good horror movie, and now you're freaked out. And that's when I'm like, I'm sorry, Mr. Ghost, I'll never do anything ever again. So it's
So,
kind of the same with planes where, like, I don't care about them now. And, like, I haven't had bad experiences, really. Like, it's confusing. In like, the airport, it's confusing and it's stressful and whatever. But in terms of, like, the flying, I'm like, if I think about it too much, maybe I'll freak myself out a little. The lizard brain versus the human brain. Like, the lizard brain is like, we're in the tube in the sky and this shouldn't be working, and and then my human brain is like, what if we watched a movie or something?
I found that I had to basically from takeoff to like cruising altitude, I had to be looking out the window. Like I had to just watch it happen.
Mm.
And I don't know why.
I think
I'm
it's
like,
fun to do that.
yeah, and I'm sure that there are people who enjoy it, but for me, I'm just like, maybe if something goes wrong, I
You
can
can
brace
catch it.
myself if I'm watching. I also found myself, and this surprised me. I, I found myself just constantly repeating the Hail Mary as we were taking
Oh
off,
my
which
gosh.
is just not something that I do.
It
But
is
I'm like,
now.
wow. I guess in my absolute panic state, when I lose all higher brain function, and I'm just staring helplessly out the window as we speed up to like 100 miles an hour and start flying, my go-to like brain empty mode is just going like, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee, blessed art thou among women, and just like repeating that over and over, like playing the rosary so we don't crash.
Lulz. I mean, that's fair. That's understandable. I mean, it is freaky on some level, and that's fine. Everyone copes in their own way.
So yeah, next time I'm going to be on a plane, you'll be there, so you can deal with me.
Hooray!
Yes, yes. All right, you got you got anything else? I'm trying to keep it to about an hour this episode.
Um, I don't think so. Truly, I didn't do much in DC. I was mostly just there for the con, and the con was fine. If you've been to a con, you know what to expect. If you haven't, I'm sorry. But I mostly go
Well,
for the art and to people watch.
so like
I have one funny story. People watching.
okay, I will say that so I've only ever been to one convention and it's New York Comic Con. And I
Yes.
kind of have a feeling that the scale of New York Comic Con compared to quote unquote a con is just way different.
Yes.
And so I have been to a con, but I feel like I actually don't know what you like what you experienced or what it's like.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, it's the very similar stuff. It's just way, way smaller. Like, you functionally do the same things, just on a different scale. Um,
All right, what was your people watch?
there was a person cosplaying. If you don't know what cosplaying, you just dress up as a character. And this person was cosplaying as Mimikyu, the Pokemon. And if you
Yes,
don't
very
know,
cool.
Mimikyu is a Pokemon that's a ghost type, and it, like, takes a bag over itself to pretend to be Pikachu.
The idea is that it's so ugly that it wears a Pikachu costume so that people will like it more because people like Pikachu.
Yeah. And it wants friends, and no one will be its friend, so it dresses up as Pikachu. So,
And if you look under it, then you die.
yeah. And that's the Pokemon Mimikyu. So this person was dressed as Mimikyu. Another person was like, oh my gosh, you're so cute, and like yelled it. which is why I started paying attention. And they're like, oh my gosh, you're so cute, you're so cool. And they're like, oh my gosh, thank you, oh, that means so much. And they're like, yeah, I love Pikachu. And the Mimikyu starts dying laughing, but then, like, realizes, like, what do you mean? I'm not Pikachu. And the other person realizes it, and they're like, no, I meant your cosplay is so good, I thought you were Pikachu. And I was like, this is such great meta, because...
So, like, yeah, in character.
In character, the Mimikyu is cosplaying the Pikachu. This person complimented them as Pikachu, which would be upsetting to the person, but is a huge compliment to the Pokemon. I was 10 out of 10. Beautiful.
Funny. Have you ever cosplayed before?
Oh, yeah. I don't do it anymore.
Why?
I have body shame.
Oh, cool. If let's say that you had a full suit of armor, you could be a Halo man. Like, would you? Because my thing with cosplaying was always like, if we're going to a convention, the last thing I want to worry about is wearing something uncomfortable. Because, like, I'm already not enjoying the process of getting there and then waiting in lines and walking around all day. I'm just fighting off, like, my feet hurting from walking, let alone wearing a costume.
Yeah. I don't think I would ever wear a Halo Man costume type thing, because it's very bulky, it's hard to move around, there's a lot of people, so you'd just be bumping into people. Most of my older cosplays were for, like, I mean, I did characters that I wanted to do, like Beast Boy from Teen Titans, which I learned I will never do body paint like that again.
I've never seen a picture of you as Beast Boy. That's crazy.
Yes. But it also gets very hot because there's, like, thousands of people. So one of the cosplays I did was Riku from Kingdom Hearts. And it was when he's wearing a leather coat. So I wore a leather coat and I was sweating, dying in that. Drink plenty of water. But it does get uncomfortable. But you gotta sacrifice a little. You know, if you want to do a cosplay, you're gonna be at least a little uncomfortable. Maybe you wear a wig that's a little itchy. But, like, then people come up to you and they're like, oh my gosh, you're so cool, can I take your picture? And you're like, your heart flutters and you're like, yeah. And then it makes it worth it.
The first Comic-Con I went to would have been, like, freshman year of high school, so we would have been, like, 14. And so I went, and I was wearing a Starfleet uniform, so I was Spock. But, like, it wasn't, like, a big dress-up thing. It was literally just, like, I was just wearing, like, that was just my jacket. It was a Starfleet jacket from Star Trek.
Sure.
And our friend George was just wearing a t-shirt with the Mythbusters logo on it.
Mm-hmm.
And a girl around our age came up to him and said, I like your shirt. And he said, thanks. And he's like, Devon, you dressed up for this, and the only compliment any of us got on our attire was my Mythbuster shirt. And I'm like, okay.
False.
Sad.
Yeah, sometimes that's how it goes.
That's my experience. Obviously, like, we're not going to cosplay for the Star Wars convention because we'd have to bring what we're wearing to Japan, which is just not happening.
Yeah. Only so much space.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. I want to like go get something signed by the guy who plays C-3PO, and I don't know what to do.
Yeah, the
Our
Lego.
friend was like,
yeah,
but like the Lego, but like, I don't know if like you can get like a Lego.
Okay, here's what you do.
Pen. Yeah.
You get him to sign your arm, your chest, some part of your body that you'd be comfortable with. And then you go to a tattoo parlor. And you get it tattooed on you.
Yeah, the dead mouse thing.
Yeah.
Our friend George told me I should... So I have a Star Wars poster from when it was in theaters in 1977, and he said to bring that. And I'm like, if you think I'm bringing a rolled-up poster on an airplane to Japan, you're wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, food for thought, I guess. You'll figure it out, I believe.
I hope so. Do you have any last comments on our vacations?
No. I mean, sounds like a good times overall. We both didn't care for the transportation though.
That is true.
Be it car or plane, you're gonna run into issues, and that's just something we have to live with.
Yep, and the raccoons had a good time while we were gone. They got to live in our. They got to sleep on the riverbed instead of in the dumpster for once. It was cool. It was fine. Everything's all good here at home. The mailbox is a little full. It's actually so full that I wasn't able to get a letter out. Maybe I'll have to like pry something out with a screwdriver for next time. But we'll figure that out when it comes. So thank you guys for watching, listening, and I will see you next time.
Goodbye, everyone.